So what we're trying to achieve today is to think through some of the ambitions that we might want to achieve over the next 4 years. It's a 24 to 28 election period for whoever's the next Metro Mayor, and we set out some high-level ambitions in terms of a manifesto. So what we're interested in today and after the event is seeing if we've got buy-in from the candidates, and then see if, more importantly, you as part of the voluntary and community sector are interested in and agree with the draft manifesto. So at the very end of the event, we'll flash up a QR code, but we'll be using all the usual mailing lists to get a consultation out to you to see if you agree with these are the things we should be pushing for over the next 4 years. Now, I've brought some colleagues with me from the VCSE Leadership Group to talk through some elements and ambitions of what we want to achieve and what we think is the right thing to be trying.
Frankly, an impossible task in 2 minutes to talk about the great work of the voluntary sector across Greater Manchester. And I'm kind of guessing that the vast majority of you are part of the voluntary sector in Greater Manchester. So welcome here, and I hope then to really be speaking to kind of some of the candidates to try and explain some of the brilliant work that you do across the conurbation, because GM is really lucky to have such a rich and diverse sector with 17,500 groups and organisations, all committed with huge numbers of volunteers. I think the stats something like 500,000 volunteers work across and with our organisations, and that contributes 1.4 million hours of volunteer time every single week across Greater Manchester. So we're an incredible force to be reckoned with as a sector, and we really hope the candidates are listening and want to work with us as we move forward across the next few years. Because when we think about the different policy initiatives that are important to people in Greater Manchester, our sector is already really well connected to those and already working on those as part of some integrated partnerships and programmes, and again leading some of that innovation across Greater Manchester. So whether we're thinking about older people in terms of being isolated or lonely.
Credit unions in Greater Manchester, we have 14 credit unions in Greater Manchester, and they have £240 million in assets. They're managing £140 million in loans, £200 million of savings, and that's quite a chunk of change. And we often think about community organisations as small organisations within communities, providing services, crisis response. But these are organisations that are helping people individually, but also they have a fantastic amount of assets there and value in terms of the impact on the economy. And we need more of that the sector's in control of in terms of the economy. So we're currently working with the credit unions. Credit unions have always lent to businesses, but it's on a kind of ad hoc every now and then. We're the first place in the UK where credit unions are coming together to create a fund for social economy organisations, social enterprises to get loans and investment. We're working with Access, who support social investment, and the SB Fairbairn Foundation. We have a fund where you can get up to 100 grand of investment, 20% of it is usually grants as well, so it's a bit blended, to actually build the quality of the economy and the bit of the economy that's owned by the voluntary sector. It was great speaking to Michelle, who's at the back, who was our first person we invested in TLC. TLC are creating a commercial arm that is profit with a purpose, that is selling services across the country, and is going to bring money from those services to provide free services and free counselling for people in Greater Manchester. So there's something Greater Manchester voluntary organisations and co-ops and social enterprises can do, not just in terms of building the economy in localities, but kind of selling services and exporting them to other parts of the country and bringing resources and growing the economy in Greater Manchester that is a bit more community rooted. So it's just that sense of, although organisations are there for crisis response and actually addressing some of the very deep challenges we see in places, there's also that sense of we can start reshaping the economy. we can start reshaping society and the future that's there. So it can't all just be about the problems we face, but what kind of future do we want to create? And that exists within a range of community organisations, and many organisations that are there on the front line can do something more if they've got the support and got the investment to actually start changing the way things work in Greater Manchester. And I think I'm now handing over to Jules.
Hello, I'm Jules. I don't have any notes because I didn't actually realise I was going to be speaking here until about 20 minutes ago. So I chair the Greater Manchester Equality Alliance, GM Equal, which is a sort of interesting group of that. It's about 40, Rory? About 40 people from across so representation from all of the 10 localities in GM and all of the protected characteristics under the 2010 Act, and also kind of most of the categories of what you kind of refer to as like inclusion, health and that sort of thing. And we come together once a month to be a sort of policy influencing, strategic influencing group. So we get all those people in the room and then we do really, really boring stuff, critiquing policy that takes forever and is quite nuanced, but actually it's quite useful. And because of that alliance of all of those people, I get to do things like write really snotty letters to the Chief Constable or the NHS GM and say, nah, not good enough, do better, and expect a reply, which is kind of a weird position to be in because I'd never do that stuff on my own, but because of the group that we have, I get to do that, and it sort of works. So we've achieved a whole bunch of stuff around kind of getting people to change and make their policies and their decisions a bit more inclusive. So we've had that effect with GMP, we've had that effect with NHS GM and tons of stuff. And I want to advocate on the item 2 over on the VCSE manifesto around the listening city region thing. Lots of people write tons of very laudable policy objectives about being really good at co-production and the gold standard, and we want to lead on this, and then nobody quite agrees on what co